Now, what I've done is a very simple system. You can argue about this in the following way. Is terrible twice as much as bad? Or is it 3 times more? Could this be 3? Should it be a 5-level scale, a 7-level scale? There's all variations of this in the literature and case studies.
Oh.
I like a very simple one because it's easy to add up. Okay? Neutral is a very interesting number. It means either you did nothing or you did a balance between good things and bad things. It's very hard to judge a 0. And there are lots of ways to come up with a 0. I also prefer an unweighted scheme, although I'm the one who decided that this was the order of events when we began the workshop. And what I was doing is interpreting emails from Tim, mainly from Tim and Mary, who basically are interested in sustainability. That's the program here. And so I basically assumed what Tim would do, but he didn't do it. I did. I said, this is more important than 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 this, and this fills in after the fact. So it's perfectly reasonable to take the bar chart that you did and weight this times 10, 9, 9, 6, 6, 5, 5, 4, 3, and come up with another scaling. So there's lots of ways to gerrymander a structure like this. But at the simplest level, there's another issue, that there are 4 things or 3 things out here which are clearly in the vulnerability category. And there are things here that are clearly in the development attractiveness category. And there are these agriculture and forestry, which is sort of one or the other depending upon how you see the world. Right? So if you imply this as roughly half and half, then it shouldn't penalize either the developer teams or the environmental teams if you do an equal weighted thing. I don't want to balance it for sustainability, because if I balance it for sustainability, it's likely to be a pretty great tie between the environmental team here and possibly the developers that are enhancing here, possibly. But basically what shows is that the environment evaluations are dissatisfied, or they're hard-assed, or the equivalent. All right? And it looks like the developer teams tried to do what they were supposed to do, and they did very well. Right? But they made the assumption of the changing of the density. Keep that in mind. You've got to keep that in mind. And the margin is not great. I mean, the highest scoring team and the winning team in this very strange evaluation is team number 1, but there's not that great difference. And what's very interesting is team number 2. Right? Team number 2, that everybody hates their solution. But what's their solution? Their solution is the market. All right? And so you're basically saying, we're going to tell the people what they like or what they're no longer going to have. Well, that's good luck to you. All right? Good luck to you. Now, but keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. This process says, that's what we're going to do. And we already know that there's a basis of negotiation between this team and other teams toward improving their design. And by the way, improving the set of designs more than likely in this territory. Okay? That's why negotiation in a structure is better than competition. Competition is probably the worst way to decide what's best. Why? Because it's a zero-sum game with everybody losing except one. Let's now go to here. The most interesting case here is that Team 6 likes Team 1, but Team 1 doesn't like Team 6. And that's actually very interesting, because Team 1 is the most popular team among the teams that like it. It's the central design of the positives. But Team 2 is the central design of exactly the opposite set of assumptions. So I consider this a positive number. All right? Judge yourself by your enemies. I'm serious. It's a positive number. No, it's not a 10. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. And so what looks like is happening here is that Team 1 is the central position of a consortium. And the way the negotiation might work is for Team 1 to say, what do you want to add from the other teams and what are you willing to give up? And Team 1 is the chairman of the negotiation. It's not an equal negotiation, all right? And that means it doesn't last forever. The same relationship, which is not as strong a relationship, exists between teams 2 and 6. And Team 2 is more unpopular from the rest than Team 6. So Team 2's extreme view inside the study area is the lead design. And the question is, for Team 2 and 6, can you make a better design for both of you inside the study area? And if the answer is yes, try it. And if the answer is no, then move out, but don't move towards Seattle, move south. Okay? Now, if this negotiation occurs, in my experience, it should take about 20 to 25 minutes to 30 minutes, but no more than 30 minutes. And what you're doing is trading diagrams. You're saying, what's in my design, what can we improve, what can we give up, what can we compromise? And it's a negotiation between probably 2 human beings with everybody else standing around, or 4 human beings in this team. It's not everybody talking. It's 2 people talking and saying, does that sound right? Yes, okay, yes, okay. And occasionally people can say, think about this one. But it's not a cacophony of, in this case, 12 people. And in this team, it's going to take place at team number 4's computer. Why? So it can be videotaped, sound tracked. And this consortium is going to take place in team's 3 computer. Why? So it can be videotaped by the videotapers just swinging around, and everybody can stand around, but keep the angle of the video clear, because they do want to listen to these discussions as best they can. And what I'd like to do is, we're doing really well. It's roughly 10 after 4. What I'd like to do is to see if you can make a synthetic design that more or less satisfies people in half an hour. If you can't, we'll keep going for another half an hour. If you know you can't negotiate and you want to divorce, do so. This might end up being two designs, not one design. This might end up not being able to be done. At worst, we have the 6 designs that we started out with. At best, we're moving to see whether we can make a better design and say, no, that's a good design, but this one is better. And the team has to say, yes, it is better, and feel that way. And if we can make that design and that design eventually merge in some way, that's in fact intelligent. Maybe it merges for everything but housing, possibly. Let's see what the environmental policy comes out as. See what is mergeable, and then decide the rest is not mergeable. It's a useful exercise. And we'll have plenty of time left if this works for a discussion, or everybody goes home early. All right? So
basically, we are the team 2 and the 6, which people hate most. We're trying to accommodate your result and comments and try to make our plan more appealing as much as we can. Whilst being an environmentalist, we are trying to negotiate with the development team, trying to get something in a compromisable situation. So here is our plan for 20 years. You can still see a lot of things. You probably still don't like it, but it's going to happen.
Don't assume that. The market wants it.
Yeah.
You're right and they're wrong.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's gonna happen. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna happen for a lower density housing, for fulfilled American dream most likely. But as you can see, we're not gonna expanding our urban sprawl issues. We are trying to actually make people move towards the high density housing around. Let's see if I can make my mouse. So it's around the corridor, as you can see here. Currently, it's an urban area or developing urban area. We're trying to make all of the things into a highly density commercial mixed use. And there is also discussion when the industrial.
This is the first 20 years? I thought in the first 20 years we were continuing to build mainly low-density housing.
There is still a lot, but at the end of this age, we're trying to move that into the high-density area a little bit.
Why?
Because we don't have the land. We are not.
That's important.
Yeah, we are not. We are. Well, we are not that fast.
Yeah, things like
Okay, our land get being purchased by other developers. That's what's gonna happen, and then so that's what our solution might be. We're moving towards the high density housing near the urban area by providing a very good supporting with the transportation, good supporting with amenity, and a good supporting a lot of things that we can do, still keep environment, keep amenity there, and also for those low density housing, while they are doing development, there are a lot of negotiations or a lot of things, regulation will be put in, so it will be a very limited low density development, as you can see. We still keep the critical area and a lot of forest policy still doing the implementing and pushing.
yeah, because like we negotiate and for the developer we reduce a little bit of the area that we can build to become the low density. That's why in 20 years you can see that because we still after we negotiate, we're going to keep this area to become for the better, for the lasting forest and wildlife and water as well. So people in the area can have a good water quality.
Can I interrupt you for a second? When they began, Tim and I had a discussion with them, and I said, look, you have to solve the problem as best you can inside the study area. You can't export your problem. And the bottom line is that they could solve it by basically building as much low density as they thought they could get away with a high level of environmental management in less than 20 years. The system broke in 20 years minus. And now they have to do what everybody else discovered who was working, that they have to switch densities. But it happens not at the beginning, it happens after they filled out the low density market, which is the demand. So they're buying time. There's a timing issue that's really important here. They say, follow the market until you can't, then switch.
Because the market will show you that in low-density housing, you're going to price everyone out of the low-density housing. It's just going to go higher and higher in price if there is no more available, and so people will have to switch to high-density housing and then provide amenities with that high-density.
Now show us the rest of it, Steve.
So once we are actually outbid for all of the lands, as you can see and explained by Tim and Carol, we are now moving towards a lot of high-density housing, include this area like the Maple Valley. So it's actually a little bit spreading, but we still keep as the core area as much as possible, incorporating with all the transportation, utility. But in the meanwhile, we are keeping those forested, waterways there. So the amenity is still being kept in a very high quality type of things. We try to build up a lot of eco-housing things, green roof, green buildings, a lot of LCD, which is a low impact development, those things there. So that's actually what we are going to propose in.
We also we also put the water treatment for the stormwater treatment as well. I mean, in the Twin Cities, but
It's covered by
yeah,
their
and in this
residency.
area as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to accommodate between our current pressures, our future population pressures,
Fine,
and our precious lands.
fine, very good.
Yeah.
Let's go look at the other one.
I
Well,
can just talk a little bit about
Yeah,
it.
tell-
In the meantime, although there is
Yeah.
no screen. So,
So you guys did do some work, did you?
yeah. So what we did is we started out with the chart that we made, and then we tried to fill in from all the other groups and add the differences, so to speak, to our plan. And several things appeared. First thing is we wanted to expand the high density areas a little bit. We had a big advantage over you guys because we took over our higher density over 12 units. We still had the 75 units, but we wanted to taper it off a little bit. So the area gets a little bit larger. So we added areas in Auburn and in, what's that, Renton in the top, and to the east, in the south, several areas to fill in commercial and high-density residential. We also thought that not having any low-density residential is also a bad thing because the market won't support it. So we started filling in low-density residential all over the place, trying to basically buffer this, and that goes in the first 20 years, right? The growth happens in a way that we picked these centers, and the idea is that over time the centers grow towards each other and form the corridor very similar to the corridor that you had. We still have substantially here. And here, yeah, these are the centers, right? And we're growing along that corridor. Utilities and transportation goes in the first 20 years, and then gets, or the development happens along those lines over time, right? We did not touch too much of this area because we have enough development areas, so we kept the policies for the forests, for the agricultural areas, for groundwater. We added new policies for stormwater mitigation mainly. So basically on roofs you have roof gardens that can soak up that area, and this is for low density, these two, and the other ones are for high density. What else do we have?
what's your policy about the urban core in the first 20 years?
This is 20 years, right?
This
Yeah, the
vertical-
urban core, this is basically...
No, not the horizontal one, the vertical one, the north-south one.
The north-south one is basically gets started to develop, only this gets filled in over time. I know that you were thinking we should reverse that, but we were not getting
Okay.
to that.
Okay.
And we
So-
still just have pockets, we don't have like a broad area that's
Okay.
going to be.
Yeah, we only have pockets. Basically, lots of this area will stay empty. It does not get developed actually. So can we load the 40-year plan?
Yeah.
You'll see the difference.
It's mostly just that corridor, but
So we keep that corridor actually untouched, so we don't have actually the floodplain issues.
this is the way out of here. It's like 3 clicks away, so sit tight for like 90 seconds.
How high are the buildings?
The buildings are roughly 6 stories, but now that we expanded the high density, we can have more variation to the lower end. So we can stagger it, and also stagger it over time in a sense, right? You can start developing and you have areas to expand it. Which, a strange thing for me coming from Europe is that high density is 12 units, and that is like a row house, where it's not really high density, right? So high density, when I hear high density, I think Bombay, 22 stories plus, all over the city.
So Enumclaw has zoning laws where there's no multifamily housing.
Period.
Period.
At all.
Well, they're very resistant to it. Like,
Well, but that's the challenge we have with our plan, right? To say,
we
well,
didn't go to Enumclaw though.
we're not allowing much. The last fizzling out bits of single-family housing, and the rest needs to go into the city. And then we need to make the cities more attractive. So we kept all the policies about the green areas because all of us had those in anyway. We made that critical infrastructure so they cannot be taken away in the future when you start really filling in high density.
There we go.
Yeah, you see this is all in this orange tone, which there's underlaying forest on the areas. Yeah, and here you can see how we filled in now this whole chunk, but this still stays empty. So we actually don't
Empty
need this.
meaning unchanged.
Unchanged, which is, I think it is kind of an industrial commercial area in any
Exactly.
case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Did I forget it?
Did you say anything about the low density? You had pockets of
Well, just-
I did. We had
Yeah.
pockets. Oh yeah, I should say we added also transportation along those lines, which we didn't have. That comes from your plan along these sides. So basically, the idea is to expand existing bus infrastructure and the increase of lanes of the existing freeway, right? And here on the other side, I think we had that added as well, also to make the freeway and HOV lane add that to the freeway, so you have better access, and you foster commuting, so people drive together, less congestion. I think
So we had all the built and paid for, or built things, plus this, basically, right?
yeah.
and your airport access.
And your airport access.
Airport access,
That's
yeah.
important. What's the difference between your plan and the other one?
The multi-family corridor out to here.
Well,
No, they have that too. I think the difference is
Can we turn
We
this?
start that at 20.
exactly that we're attacking
Well,
the
let's
low
just
density
run it
residential
The
down.
wheels
from the
down
beginning.
there.
See if we can move